I think one of your expert topics, which is, traditional software engineering versus AI development, because I think that's potentially one of the problems that exists in enterprises and normal companies today. They think potentially that AI is just another software development technique or something, and it's no major differences there. Or how would you phrase the big differences between like traditional software engineering and AI development? Is big question as well, I know. But this is your expert
I had lunch with someone who shall remain unnamed, who worked in the 6 and a few other places in the 90s, and mentioned that one of his colleagues there had said that AI is the fallback solution for when you don't know how to solve something algorithmically, which I thought was actually hilarious.
I like that. It's one of the best definitions of AI that I've heard for some time. Cool.
Which I thought was funny. I mean, he did admit that these days, in many fields, AI actually does a better job than algorithmically programmed solutions. So in that sense, he made a little bit fun of himself as well. But I thought it was an interesting point.
Yeah.
Where do I start? So traditional software engineering tends to be very requirements driven, right? Mm-hmm. One of the big differences in what I see between AI development, especially in the early stages, and traditional software engineering is we can specify requirements and then build it, and basically the system will do what you wanted it to do. Whereas when you start with AI, very often in the beginning, you actually don't know how well the model is going to be doing.
Right.
I mean, we wrote about this. And so that's number one. The second part is many traditional software systems are very much built around functionality. Yeah? What the system actually does from a functional perspective. Whereas what I see in AI is that we need to be much better at making data a first-class entity in the way that we build systems, right? I think that that's a very important part. And to be honest, I think that in the software architecture community and in general software development, the importance of designing for proper data collection, data processing, buffering, storing, having high-quality data pipelines, I think that in general is very poorly understood in the software engineering community.
I mean, interesting.
So there's a lot more that I can say, but you're jumping in already. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt you more and more now because the time is approaching 2 hours, and we try to keep it 2 hours.
Have we really been going for 2 hours?
1 hour and 45. Yeah.
Okay.
But we were allowed to go a bit past that. But I still want to keep the answer as short as we can. But one person that is, speaking about Tesla, we have Andrei Karpathy, who's driving AI from Tesla point of view, and I think he was the one that coined the term software 2.0. I'm not sure if he actually coined it, but he at least speaks about that a lot. And what he means with that is that there is a new revolution in how you do software engineering, which is that you can, instead of manually have to program everything, you can just feed data into it. And this is basically what machine learning is. Yeah. So then it automatically learns how to, perform the function that you want it to perform. Of course, AI today only do that for a very small part of the whole system that you want to build, and you have still so many manual parts that you have to manually program to make the system work. But at least we're starting to automate one part of that process of building these kind of more intelligent systems. So that's what he's referring to with software 2.0. Do you think that's a good term, or do you think he's
I don't know. I mean, there's Web 2.0. I mean, I don't want to criticize someone as esteemed as this person. So, but I do have a slightly different perspective, I think. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I know we're running out of time, but let me get on a soapbox for a little bit. Yeah. When we were all young and innocent.
Yeah. By the way, we are not running out of time. We can drive this 4 hours if you want to. It's up to you. So
I have a train tomorrow morning at 8:30. As long as I make that, I'm good. So no worries about that. When we were all young and innocent, many moons ago, systems upgraded using product generations. You bought a car, and then the next version of the Volvo V70 came out, or the Volkswagen Passat, or the Audi, whatever came out, and that was the upgrade. That was the next value.
Right.
Then we moved to what, for instance, Ericsson did for a long time, twice a year software deployments. Yeah, so the mechanics and electronics still upgraded with the generations, but the software went to by twice a year, every 6 months or something like that. Then we moved to Devops. So software is being pushed out on a more continuous basis. What we see is that Devops is not just done for software, but it's also now done for data. How do I collect data? What data do I collect? Data ops, and then also AI, ML ops, or whatever term you want to use.
Exactly.
Then on top of that, we add A/B testing and those kind of things, right? Yeah. That's again, what I'm trying to paint is a picture where the pace at which we delivering new value to the user and to systems out in the field is constantly going up. And why I believe that federated learning and reinforcement learning are so important is because the functionality that can be optimized using that has much faster feedback cycles, learning cycles, than A/B testing. And A/B testing has faster feedback cycles than DevOps. And DevOps has faster feedback cycles than biannual or twice a year software releases, which has much faster feedback cycles than the product generation releases. Right. And what I in general see, and this is a bit of a more philosophical point, everything we do in software, AI, digital technologies is about accelerating the speed at which we can deliver new value to customers.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Awesome phrasing, I think.
Yeah, and I think that as long as we can find ways to deliver that value faster and do it in a validated form, because that's of course important. I mean, we used to, in the product generations, lots of people made all kinds of decisions about what they thought customers wanted. Yeah, and then you would put the product in market and it was either a success or it was a failure or whatever, or somewhere in between. But you didn't have a feedback. Now with A/B testing or with reinforcement learning, I mean, the feedback loops are so much faster and so much more quantitative that's the big thing. Yeah. It's not about, AI is the shit. Well, of course, I mean, it's a great technology, but what it is about is faster delivery of quantified value to customers. Right. That's what we care about.